Welcome to the 5D Shift podcast with Openhand. It's where we take a higher dimensional perspective of the tremendous energetic shifts that are happening on the planet right now, so as we can best orientate with them and really maximize the infusion of higher consciousness into our lives. In this episode, I feel to look at reconciliations and collaboration that I feel is happening amongst the star being nations around and on Earth, because this impacts every single one of us. And if we can understand how to work with those shifts and that energy, that infusing consciousness, then it's really going to uplift our lives in a very positive and powerful way. So let's take a look at the various changes that are going on in the field right now, and the work that Benevolence is doing to really bring these different star-being nations together to really help uplift humanity and the planet. I'll be back in just a moment. Stay with me. We've entered a pivotal moment in Earth's history. People in all walks of life are waking up and challenging the 3D shadow system. They're turning away from the fake stream, going inwards and igniting the passion of their soul. We're shifting consciousness into 5D. What does that mean exactly? How and when will it happen? Openhand is a higher dimensional ascended master consciousness working to illuminate the pathway forwards through the stormy transition. But this is never about telling you the truth. It's about offering essential insights into the shift, tools, meditations, and spiritual practice so you can realize your own truth. Because ascension to 5D is something only you can actualize for yourself. Get involved, explore, inquire, expand, liberate your soul. The way to approach the 5D Shift podcast is as a download, a transmission of energy to bring soul frequencies alive and awake. So the invitation is to breathe, settle, soften as you participate in this exploration, this sharing that I'm going to put forwards. So let's begin with 2 or 3 breaths just to settle, to soften, to open up, and really feel internally so you know you can recognize your own truth. Here we go. Inhale. Exhale. Soften, relax, open. Inhale. Full breath. Exhale. Inhale at the back of the throat. Expand, connect. Exhale, relax and deepen. One more. Right up above the head. Exhale down. And now just feel what you sense is going on internally as we progress through. What we really need to appreciate and understand is that life on the planet has been greatly influenced and impacted from very early times. From the emergence of original humans from 1 million to 6 million years ago, this was a benevolent seeding by various star soul groups with higher dimensionals sharing a perspective on how the hominids can be helped moving forwards. Essentially, the collective soul was yearning for individuated expression. And so support was brought at the Lemurian times by helping the soul to start to break open and individuate so that then more individual expressions could happen. And the DNA was supported to transform this. So for example, Pleiadian DNA was incorporated into the hominid form to receive some of those star soul frequencies. Why Pleiadian DNA? Because even prior to that, millions of years previously, the reptilian consciousness had found its way to Earth and was influencing the trajectory of particular life forms on Earth, and found its way into the great apes, into apes and early hominids, we can say. So that energy found its way in and was influencing the early humanity with excessive consumption. We can say that, and different life forms prior to that, like the dinosaurs, for example, and beginnings of destruction of the environment. And really what one of the purposes was to bring a more divine connection, a sense of innocence, playfulness, joy, connection with all of life, respect for all of life. And the Pleiadian energy was one of the DNA frequencies which was incorporated in order to support that. Through sound frequency, the genetics were transformed over a long period of time, gentle iterations over millions of years. And so this was a benevolent seeding. You can see it in the fossil record. You can see the various iterations that happened, and a transformation from hominids to original humans through that time, through that epoch, what we can call the Lemurian epoch. The Lemurians consisted of interdimensionals, all working caringly, compassionately with the emergence of this new human being. And that designed to steer, to move away from the more exploitative and destructive approaches and energies of the reptilian consciousness. So that was a crucial point during the Lemurian times, and a key emphasis of benevolence, and one or two different star soul nations that came to support that. And it succeeded for quite some considerable time. And you see this tremendous emergence of original humans that were interconnected and multidimensional. We still have much of that origination in our DNA and in our experience and awareness and past life knowledge. We still have that today. It's what many people call on when they're awakening and really activating their multidimensional consciousness. So you have this benevolent seeding that took place originally, called the Lemurian times. But then around about 300,000 years ago, down to about 200,000 years ago, you had an influx of Sirian energy through the Anunnaki and also the Orions, who came here after the destruction of Sirius 120 million years ago, who then proceeded to try to rebuild their civilization that had been obliterated through that humongous transformation that happened at that time. And so they journeyed through different constellations to work to regenerate their civilization before they found their way to Earth. The Anunnaki with the Orions in tow, tremendous energetic engineers of the field with incredible awareness and sophistication, the kind of sophistication that can build the pyramids, for example, from sound technology, that incorporates the speed of light encoded within them, the north, south, west pole axes. It has the figure of pi encoded within, and a whole array of different geometry, sacred geometry, that's actually encoded in the way they were built. And their stargates, so the crystalline structure was adapted, amended in order to provide a homing beacon, if you like, to bring different energies in. They were highly skilled architects, and you can clearly see that the genetics of original humans was hybridized to fit within the civilization system that they developed. And this we can call Atlantis. So at that period, around 250 to 200,000 years ago, again, you witness a tremendous change within the genetics of humans that led to the hybridization to Homo sapiens. And we've been living with that past life karma ever since. Now, what you also have is a lot of vying, friction, warring that went on between the various different star soul groups, some working to help the consciousness of humanity re-emerge and realign, others trying to input, trying to influence, trying to control, trying to change genetics. You see many different genetic experiments have gone on through humanity's past history. And so you have a tremendously complex, convoluted situation in the field. And it's crucial to realize how this is impacting us, because we can't just try to divorce solutions at this level, the 3D level, without engaging multidimensionally, because it will be totally fruitless. The DNA is configured to receive impulses like that of reptilian consciousness, which is very thrive-orientated, very consumptive, and quite oppressive, needed to be so to survive in very hostile environments. So there's very positive qualities to it as well. You see many leaders on the planet right now helping humanity, helping different groups with a very strong, driving Ray 1 warrior consciousness. And that was well expressed within the reptilian nation, within the reptilian consciousness. So it's not just negative. There are very positive aspects to it as well. And a crucial thing is us working to transmute that consciousness inside of us, not simply to ditch it, because you're basically ditching a key aspect of yourself. So you have different star soul nations who've had different agendas on both sides of the coin, both sides of the fence, so to speak. Some working to control, some working to liberate and help emerge. And the vying that went on between them, the warring that went on between them at various occasions through history. And that has, we need to bring those groups to reconciliation. And this has been a major consideration for the benevolent mission looking down and working with the earth at this time. How do you bring those different groups to reconciliation? It's not about negotiation. Why? Because we're working all within the context of the movement of the universal torus. The torus is the natural way the universe expresses through the flower of life. The flower of life is a depiction of the torus in every single sentient life form, and how the energies move. We can call it Kundalini consciousness or active Kundalini, but essentially Kundalini is one aspect of the movement of the torus within you. You have the sacred ground, which is the vortex down the core, and then you have the movement of soul energies around that, which is what people refer to as Kundalini. We all connect through the singularity, which happens through the chakra points down the vortex of the torus. And then each torus interrelates with other sentient life, like that of Gaia, like that of the solar system or the galaxy. And so we all connect through the singularity, and each toroidal flower of life that we express all interrelate. Now, what the opposing consciousness, I can call it opposing consciousness, has done is realize that at various points it can lock those energy fields down. That's what it's done here on Earth. That's what it did through the pyramids. That's what it's doing through dissonant frequencies like EMF on the planet right now, even down to social media, how it pulls consciousness in and slows it down or fragments it into what we can call the metaverse. So it's become very skilled, very adept at slowing someone's torus or even the Earth's torus down and extracting energy for which to use for its own agenda, to thrive from. Effectively, that's what it's been doing. But you can only control the torus in a given space and time for only so long. Why? Because it's all interconnected. Because the grand cycles are all interconnected. And so as you slow the torus down, you actually draw realigning energy to you and to your agenda and what you're doing. This is the oversight, or we could even say ignorance, of a desire to exploit so-called free energy. I'm actually talking about free energy of the torus, but it's quantum field energy. And so when you apply it, when you harness it and direct it into a system like the planetary system, it always has a quantum field effect. And every action has a reaction. Every cause has some effect externally. So we need to really appreciate that. And it's something that didn't happen on Sirius, which helped to precipitate its explosion 120 million years ago. It's not being appreciated here. And we need to realize that we are sailing into the grand culmination, the grand convergence of different galactic solar earth processes which are designed, which happen naturally to restore the quantum field, the time-space continuum, through this realigning, unraveling toroidal shift. This is what we're converging to right now, and it's why I say there is no negotiation with this. You cannot negotiate with the torus. It's going to happen. We see it happening. We see the re-emergence, the reactivation happening in 12,000 year cycles. The last one obliterated Atlantis, which was the hybridization of Homo sapiens and to fit within that collectivized society of that time. We saw 12,000 years ago that was obliterated in a solar micronova precipitated by a galactic superwave. And that caused the rapid melt of the then ice age and a deluge of water around the planet, which destroyed the civilization. The opposing consciousness has been reconfiguring and rebuilding it since then till we get to today. And so they've augmented, evolved their means of controlling, manipulating, hybridizing, again, to facilitate that particular agenda or their agenda. Hence, we see such dissonance on the planet right now, and we saw what happened through the engineered pandemonium, which is the phraseology I'm given to use. The engineered pandemonium in order to pull a swathe of humanity back into that new metaverse agenda, which is really the next iteration of the intervention on planet Earth. And really then also they recognize, I believe they see the grand convergence of these cycles that are upon us, galactic superwave, at the time of the grand solar minimum, and then converging with the pole shift on planet Earth. They see that, they're aware of that, hence the accelerating, escalating movement to high tech, to integration of collective consciousness and technology to take a swathe of humanity off planet. This is clearly what we can intuit is even being expressed as being what their agenda is going forwards. Wow, yes, I know, it's pretty massive, and it's important to really pause, explore that. I know it may seem out there to people who are coming to this material for the first time, but you can see it clearly depicted in the way that different machinations and directions are going, even how organizations such as NASA are broadcasting where they want to take humanity to back to the moon, then to Mars, and then onward. And you see it, of course, in what SpaceX is undertaking and other private organizations as well. There is definitely an agenda that recognizes where we're moving to on the planet and wanting to take a swathe of humanity off in the foreseeable future. Why would they want to do that? Well, what are these cycles going to cause? As the galactic superwave arrives, and you can see the impact that it's had on other solar systems between us and the galactic core, they've all been triggered into solar micronova, and that's coming at a time of the grand solar minimum, where the sun is lowering the magnetic shield, and so more cosmic radiation is coming in. That's causing a wider spread awakening. That looks highly likely to converge with the pole shift, where the Earth's magnetic shield lowers and then flips around, and the Earth's crust detaches to some varying degree and moves on the mantle to some varying degree, precipitating storms, tsunamis, rivers of magma, essentially, is what you're going to see. In my knowing, this is unprecedented. The convergence of these different cycles at this time is unprecedented in Earth's history. And there will be a complete cleansing of sophisticated life on 3D Earth. On 3D Earth. And to be clear, it's not the destruction of Earth, absolutely not. It is the rejuvenation of the aligned evolutionary path that the various interventions have derailed from. So on the one hand, you could see it as destruction. On the other hand, the seeds of construction are contained within that, of a new paradigm, of a new emergence, of a new consciousness. That's what's coming. And we can all look forward to it, providing we align with the shift. Now, of course, that's going to cause a breakdown in those various agendas, a destruction of those various agendas, like what happened with Atlantis, and what I believe will happen with this high-tech system that we're now moving into. The intervention doesn't want that. It wants to continue its hegemony, its control, its manipulation. So it's working furiously to develop its agenda ahead of what is now unfolding and transpiring, and that they can clearly see is going to transpire. What I'm given to say and communicate is I don't believe they have sufficient time to fulfill that agenda ahead of what's coming. I don't believe they'll have sufficient time. That's what I'm given to communicate. And ultimately, it's senseless, pointless anyway, because it's much more advisable to align with the natural cycles of life that are going on through the universe and become a part of that, become a surrendered part of that. That's what I'm given to communicate in this work. So it's not going through this with fear at all, but actually the anticipation of a tremendous emergence, a release, a freedom, a liberation of consciousness that you actually feel inside, that you're being taken care of, looked after, and loved, worshipped, loved and cherished by the divine. Why would we not want to live that way? You know, this form is going to fall away at some time, anytime soon anyway. So why worry about it? Why try and hang on or grasp onto it? Let it fall away, because you are a soul. You have different energetic bodily vehicles of expression, like the spirit light body. So why not activate that, come into that, and let that be the way you journey onwards after the old paradigm breaks down and falls apart, which is what it will do. We'll have a cleansed 3D Earth, and we'll have a 5D, 6D, 7D paradigm around it. That's the natural culmination that we're moving towards, that other planets and solar systems have shifted and unraveled towards, and that's what's happening here in the years ahead. Take a breath. Yes. I know it's something phenomenal to take on board. I understand that. There will be many layers of karma that get activated to work through as you have these different realizations. So if you find yourself going into some kind of anxiety or fear about it, which is entirely understandable, the crucial thing is to work with that, to consider the possibility of that, and therefore to equalize with it. You work into your contractions, your fears, your anxieties, your worries for yourself, for family, for other life. You work into them and you soften with them, and you realize yourself with the eternal connection to the source, to the one. These are tremendous reflections that are going to come our way in the years ahead. And with those reflections, the invitation to transcend the physical, really connect with your divine energy and your sacred connection to the Torus, to the flower of life. This is what I'm given to communicate through the Openhand work to those various groups that are influencing people, because I know they are, pulling them off down distracting, derailing agendas, or how we can heal or save the planet. The planet knows how it needs to heal and to regenerate aligned connection, community of life. It knows how to do it. It's going to do it. And the crucial thing is for us to realize that, come on board and realign with it. So this is the communication that's been going on through the Openhand work over the years, and it is bearing fruit. So firstly, what you're seeing various elements of the intervention losing their commitment and drive to be derailing and beginning to surrender. So the coherency of those collective consciousness is breaking down. They've been so powerful, so strong, because they've worked as one in a collectivized consciousness. That's a tremendous amount of energy. But if you communicate an element, a ripple of truth through that organization, through that collective, it becomes very fragile too. And so can crack open and break and break down more to individuated consciousness. And that's one of that's been a part of several missions that I've been a part of, working as part of a team. So there's different layers of fragmenting. For example, the Anunnaki, the collective consciousness is broken up. You have certainly the leadership group has shifted vibration into 5 or 6D, I would say, and calling themselves now the Anu, departing from the history of the past. There are other groups within that species who are still clinging on, who still have their agenda, who are still transforming, evolving their agenda and resisting that transformation. That's still happening, which is why it's not all collapsing, which is why the matrix in society isn't just simply collapsing. You have Orion groups, you have Greys who are originally from Orion, those letting go, some of those letting go and realigning too. And of course, the reptilians who are also realizing there's a lot of anxiety amongst the reptilian nation right now. And you can pick it up in the field and you can feel it inside. You can feel it inside because it's a part of our DNA. And there's a lot of anxiety there because their leadership has gone and they're being coaxed, being encouraged back into the family of light with great success. That is beginning to happen too. And a reconciliation happening, for example, with the historic dynamic with the Pleiadian consciousness, that of joy, that of trust, that of transparency, openness, some very contrasting polarity between them and the reptilian consciousness. You see it at work a lot in relationships. So you see different energies, you can call them narcissistic, for example, that are trying to control the more surrendered energy in society, both on the divine feminine or distorted divine feminine and masculine sides. So you've got a real tremendous polarity between those two groups. And reconciliation is being expressed between them. So, where the divine feminine has been repressed and subjugated, to encourage an increase in sovereignty and natural expression and a respect for that, a respect for gentleness, compassion, love, freedom, playfulness, joy, not just nose to the grindstone, to the daily grindstone every day. So you're seeing an emergence of those energies. an emergence of individuated expression, and that breaking from the past. Now, each person who does that, each person who says inside, I'm not going to be controlled by that distorted energy that keeps my nose to the grindstone, so to speak. I'm not going to use enhanced intellectual manipulation to get the things I want, because I only end up controlling myself. Instead, I want to really soften to the flow and feel the natural joy of life and respect and love for other beings, other sentient life, for the plant kingdom, for the animal kingdom, to feel joy and respect, because that's where we're shifting to in 5, 6, 7D of the new paradigm. That is the consciousness of the new paradigm. And you're not going to be moving there if you're still in that control, manipulation, lockdown, fear mentality. So you've got a strong resolution going on with those two energies, which you can say is then a reconciliation, a recognition of the values and benefits of each. Because as I said, also in the reptilian energy, there's great attributes that we can call upon: drive, will, commitment, all of these tremendous things that get you up, out, and want to be expressing yourself and really staying sovereign, really committing to your own sovereignty. So you've got a reconciliation happening at that level. You have the Anu, who are now, as we experienced on recent pilgrimages, both through Egypt, in Mexico, and up in Avebury in the UK, you're seeing the Anu who really withdrew after the fragmentation that happened after leading up to galactic alignment of 2012, and particularly since. You've seen a fragmentation of that consciousness. You saw the Anunnaki withdraw, particularly the Anu, and looking in on what's going on here. And now I can feel a re-engagement. So this is why I'm talking of collaboration. There's a re-engagement coming now. It's been invited, and for them to help us in the field reverse engineer the technology that was put in at a planetary level. So this is beginning to happen too, and you're seeing the early signs of it. We're seeing the stargates opening, and that being depicted in the crop circle season, for example, in the UK around the Avebury area. The stargates are reactivating. The energy, therefore, of the Earth's Torus is beginning to regenerate, is accelerating in advance of this grand galactic convergence. So the Earth is moving her trajectory back into that galactic alignment. Removal of the technology helps smooth that process so it's not so explosive. And so we're connecting with the Anu to help remove that technology, reverse engineer it. So here's another reconciliation collaboration that's going on. And it bodes extremely well for the shift going forwards. How are you going to experience it? Well, you might well feel a lot of turbulence inside. You're going to have to work through a lot of karmic density, regress into past life situations. So your spiritual work, beyond just simply meditation or chakra attunement, also needs to incorporate past life regression therapy, journeying, processing. That's a major part of the Openhand work here in the shift. We need to be working with that now. It needs to be a fundamental part of the spiritual work that each person is doing. Now, as you're unraveling, unwinding the density, and I should dwell on that just a little moment, because what you have is a breaking up of the field itself, the matrix field. What you have is it's you could say it's detaching from its roots are breaking, its roots into the earth are breaking and being broken. And so it's detaching, and therefore it's becoming more visible. And the various the groups that are still actively engaged and manipulating it, they're intensifying their efforts to lock it down and control it. So you're going to be seeing different dramas activated through the various media channels that we are subjected to on the planet right now. You're going to see that, an attempt to lock people in, to derail them, to keep pulling them into that agenda. It's basically a doing agenda, an agenda of you must survive by adhering to the system and controlling the resources accordingly to keep people nose to the grindstone. That's what it's doing. But that's not the only story on planet Earth. It's just one story. But if you focus on it, then what's going to happen is, okay, pay attention to it, know what's going on, but if that becomes your focus, if that's what you're talking about, if that's what you're communicating, and that's what your daily agenda is within, you're going to continue to manifest, recreate, and even anchor that drama on the planet. There needs to be balance. We see the boulders, but we navigate the path between them. And the path I'm referring to is the infusing path of light. So let's look at that now for a moment too. Prior to this breaking down of the coherency of the intervention on the planet, it was very hard for some of the star soul nations to actually even communicate and get through those layers. Because you're being influenced all the time from the lower densities, first, second, third, fourth densities particularly. So the higher dimensionals were struggling to get any kind of benevolent upliftment going. They could do so for short periods of time, activations, and work like the crop circles, for example. They could do that for a period of time, but then that's very depleting energetically to lower your vibration and really communicate in, take some action, do some work, and withdraw again. It's very depleting of energy. What's happening now is the coherency of the shadow consciousness is breaking down. And so you've got higher dimensional light is able to break through just about all over the planet, especially because the 4D technology is being removed, the stargates are reactivating, the Earth's torus is regenerating. Now they're able to draw in, now they're able to come closer. And specifically what they're working to do is resonate, activate soul frequencies that they all align or attune with. What is their natural harmonic? What we really need to understand is the space-time continuum bends around what we're being. If we're expressing particular aligned soul frequency, then reality is going to crystallize in a benevolent, harmonious way around that, interconnected with these grand cycles. That's what they understand, that's what they work with, and that's what they've come here to help us, help humanity work with. We're talking the Andromedans who create through sacred geometry. We're talking the Arcturians who are very metaphysical, altruistic, quirky, and yes, divinely connected as they all are. We're talking the Draconians, the ancestors of the reptilians here, but those who are evolved, aligned, connected, working to hold the torus so that you get a balanced, level playing field. They came in recently and they're helping to establish that in various places that I've seen around the world. So, and that's to encourage the natural torus flow. That's not an intervention, to be clear. Their offspring, yes, they conducted their own intervention here, but the Draconians are here to help hold the foundation of the reality, the new paradigm, and the torus, the establishment of the torus, so that you have a balanced, level playing field. And that's how I see them collaborating. So you do have collaborations going on between various groups and the activation of infusion of different energies. Another one I saw in the transition building up to the solstice of 22 and coming into 23 was the influx of what we could call Metatron energy. It's a paternalistic, what I perceive as a paternalistic energy there to oversee, to support, to help manifest, create from sacred geometry and higher infusing light. It's something we can work to embody, which is a natural frequency of the soul. So we can call on the Metatron energy as we can the Kuan Yin energy, the Divine Mother, that of compassion, care for life, support, support for how we're living and being. That's a beautiful maternal energy that we can settle in, feel comfort in, and really be there for us, especially as times get difficult as we travel through the shift. So calling on those frequencies and feeling held in them, feeling activated by them. So you have these different frequencies coming to the earth, being able to connect and infuse the earth in order to activate soul frequency. And these are the types of reconciliations that I'm seeing happening, and the types of collaborations that are beginning too. They're early stages. So if you look out into the world and you're only seeing dissonance, darkness, and challenge, I understand why, bearing in mind that the shadow is highly active still. So be patient, take time, do the inner work in order to ground and infuse these frequencies. Even if you don't appreciate or see, for example, star beings in your inner eye, in your third eye, or communicate with them, know that the potential for those highly activational, benevolent frequencies are there for you, that you can bring alive in you. Frequencies like drive, will, commitment, surrender, joy, respect for the life, compassion, diplomacy, quantum creating from sacred geometry, from numerology. All you really have to do is be witnessing it, and then you're weaving from that. You're weaving patterns together and creating from that. The pure magic of the Lyran energy, for example, and the altruism of the Arcturians, for example, too. These frequencies we're speaking about a great deal in the Openhand work, because they are absolutely paramount to transformation of life here, and for you to regenerate the soul, bring it alive as a part of the galactic family of light. Wow, yes, that's where humanity is being beckoned and called towards now, and it's a tremendous regeneration and rebirth in a new paradigm. Bear in mind then that it becomes possible to create from these higher energies. If you find yourself contracting down in density, well, work to let go of the attachment, to let go of the fear, to let go of the anxiety. It can actually help by contemplating the convergence of these grand cycles and the fact that we're not coming through this in a 3D old paradigm way, an old physical way. We're not coming through it in that way. We're coming through it through transcendence and ascension. It's not going to help to try to be fixing, configuring the external in the 3D and being invested in that. It's not going to help because it's not going to go anywhere. So the crucial thing is to see where I might be attached, invested in a particular outcome, work to unravel that, let go of the attachment, let these energies infuse, let them, the higher dimensional energies, let them inform you of a different way of living and being. You're going to find it's easier to connect with people in authenticity. You're going to find it's easier to establish boundaries about what is your truth and how you feel to live and be. You're going to find yourself supported. You're going to be making new connections with other kindred spirits around the planet which will support your life and your way forward. You're going to find resources coming your way, seemingly out of nowhere, because you're creating in a different consciousness. To be clear, if you're just plugged in to the matrix, expecting, needing it to configure a particular way on a day-to-day basis to get wages, rent, etc., well, then you're pulled into that agenda. I'm not saying we shouldn't live to some degree in that way, but with an openness, a relaxation, and authenticity and connection, and feeling how we can transform our lives in those systems, those elements of society, in that consciousness, seeing how we can transform and create differently, more authentically from this infusion of consciousness. Then you're going to see it bit by bit, step by step, moment by moment, day by day, transforming. And your life is going to be uplifted as a result. So, to summarize, we have this tremendous convergence that is coming, and many of the different groups in the field now recognize that that is pretty much imminent. I mean, when you say imminent, how long? I don't know. 10 years, a little bit longer, hard to say exactly, but it's imminent. They recognize that, and so there's a fragmentation in the coherency. Some are surrendering, others trying to manipulate, continue to control, but in different ways. Meanwhile, you've got other energies coming in, so it's very convoluted. It's like it is a metamorphosis. It's like being in a chrysalis and transforming and churning up. It is like that. You're going to feel it inside. But if you keep innovating, keep transforming how you're living, being, and working, then and infusing these energies through meditation, breaking down your karmic consciousness, then progressively you're going to find step by step you're transforming your reality and really beginning to live from a different higher dimensional consciousness and space. That's the possibility. And I'd just like to support that with a brief meditation that is something similar to what we would do on the Openhand courses and retreats, the seminars. It's only going to be brief, but if you resonate with the approach, then come and get involved. I feel to do a breathing meditation that calls and activates particular frequencies of consciousness. And if you resonate with those, then feel, sense them activating in you. We're going to begin by inhaling, exhaling from the back of the throat, through the nose. And as you do so, feel the expansion, feel the resonance. The throat chakra is connecting into the vortex of the torus, the presence. And now as you inhale, feel the expansion up through the third eye and the crown. And as you exhale, breathing, softening, opening through the chest, the abdomen, and all the way down through the pelvis to the base. Now as you inhale, hold in the crown. And as you hold, then contemplate, feel the sense of pure magic happening in your life. So inhale up, hold, exhale through the crown. Contemplate the sense of magic, adventure, being in the unknown. What does that feel like when you've experienced it? Inhale up into the third eye, exhale through the third eye. Consider divine connection, divine service, altruism, the commitment to a bigger picture. Inhale up into the throat, through the throat. Witnessing numerology, sacred geometry, signs, patterns, flows. The sense of them weaving together because of your consciousness. Inhale up into the heart, exhale through the heart. The sense of community, diplomacy, but not compromising your truth. It's like you can hold different truths at the same time and trust in the energy coming through the heart to find a way that respects all. Inhale up, exhale through diplomacy. Inhale from the base up through the solar plexus and through. Divine patterning, flows of connectivity, but interpreting those, seeing them in a 3D way at a mind level and weaving them from the mind. Noticing how numerology is wanting to take you, move you. You're interpreting power animals, for example, and embodying that energy too. Or what the movement of clouds tell you, or water, or sunshine, or the wind. Allowing yourself the possibility of interpreting those, so that reality can weave from that. From the base, inhale up into the sacrum and through the sacrum. The energy of joy, of love, of innocence, of transparency, of vivacity, playfulness, trust. Let that infuse your consciousness, that trust there'll always be enough there to support your divine expression. From the base, inhale, and through the base, through the lower physical. The energy of will, of drive, of commitment, of thriving that supports all life in a positive, motivated way. The feeling of that, seeing yourself when you've expressed that kind of energy, embodying it. And now relaxing with those energies, letting yourself center and equalize with them. Knowing that they're available to you, they'll want to come through in different harmonies at different times, and different star beam groups are here to resonate, animate the aligned expression of them. If your orientation shifts from pure doing and instead to doing from being, if your orientation shifts that way and you're looking for attuning to the authentic beingness frequency that wants to come through at that time, what it feels like to embody and express that way, you're going to be tuning in to the shift itself, to the planet, to the solar system, the galaxy. You're going to be tuning in and find yourself supported, and then you're going to be shaping, transforming reality around that beingness. And that's going to accelerate as this reconciliation and collaboration continues to unfold in the ether. And you can be a proponent of it by living it in your life, feeling the actions that are authentic of your higher self, infusing that, living and expressing it here and now. You'll transform your life, transform humanity and the planet. This is the way we really need to orientate ourselves and go forwards now in this year and onwards. Thank you for tuning in. It's a real joy and a pleasure to connect and share and ripple consciousness through the field, that we may uplift the planet, humanity, all sentient life. If you resonated, then come and explore the work of Openhand. It's all geared towards the grand galactic convergence and the shift to higher consciousness. See you down the flow. Namaste. Get involved, explore, inquire, expand, liberate your soul.